I never expected to find love in the unlikeliest of places when a knock changed my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows as I sank deeper into my solitude. I sat on the peeling brown sofa in my small, cluttered apartment, surrounded by memories I couldn't bear to touch. The air was thick with silence. The kind of quiet that wraps around your heart, squeezing tighter with each passing second. My hands trembled on my lap, fingernails digging into my palms. I was alone. I had lost my job a month ago. The tightness in my chest never quite faded since that day. I never expected to be grasping for hope in the bleakest of nights. It was my mom's voice on the other end of the phone, filled with compassion and worry. "Are you okay, honey?" she asked, concern radiating like warmth through the receiver. I lied, saying I was fine, but each minute ticked away like a death sentence. Then it happened. A knock at the door. It echoed through the silence like a gunshot. My heart raced, pounding against my ribs. Who could it be? I hesitated, caught between the reality of my despair and the thrill of unexpected guests. Curiosity clawed at me. Was it the landlord? Or someone from work? I held my breath, my heartbeats ringing like thunder in my ears. The knocking turned frantic. I hesitated, gravitating closer. I opened the door just enough to peek through the crack. There stood a stranger, drenched from the rain, eyes wide with urgency. He looked startlingly familiar, like a ghost from some forgotten chapter of my life. His hair was damp, sticking to his forehead, and the shadows around his jawline hinted at a ruggedness that made my stomach twist. "Help," he gasped, barely above a whisper. "I need your help." A chill cascaded down my spine. I wasn't a hero. I barely had control over my own crumbling world. But there was something in his gaze, a flicker of hope that ignited a fire in my heart. "Could I be a beacon in the storm? Are you all right?" I stammered, suddenly afraid of the depth of his request. The world spun, and I could feel the weight of every choice hanging in the balance. I opened the door wider, uncertainty battling with instinct. "I need to find someone." "She's gone." His voice broke, spilling vulnerability that drew me in. I felt the urge to step back, to close the door, but the desperation fluttering in the air held me captive. There was more to this man than met the eye. More than just a stranger on my doorstep. I took a breath, my emotions swirling like a tempest. "Who?" I whispered. He looked at me, and for a moment, I saw the pain etched across his handsome face. "My sister. She vanished last night." Everything shifted. In that instant, the mundane faded. This was not just another day. This was a turning point, a dive into the unknown. My heart hammered with both fear and excitement. I could no longer sit on the sidelines of my life. But what lay ahead? Could I really help him? And would I lose myself deeper in the chaos swirling around us? Fear gripped me, but there was a spark of something more. Could love be waiting in the shadows, hiding where I least expected it? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I opened the door wider, the weight of the stranger's anguish began to seep into my bones. He stepped into my apartment, still dripping rainwater onto the worn-out rug. There was a rawness to him, something that echoed my own brokenness. I could feel the heaviness in the air, an electricity that brought our shared burdens into sharp focus. "Why don't you come in and tell me what happened?" I suggested, my voice trembling as I motioned for him to take a seat on the couch. I noticed the way his eyes scanned the disarray around him, catching glimpses of my solitude embedded in discarded memories. He collapsed onto the edge of the couch, as if he had found the only refuge in a tumultuous storm. "I'm Jack," he said, rubbing a hand over his face. "Thank you. I don't know where else to go." As I filled 2 chipped mugs with the only warm beverage I had on hand, instant coffee, I stared at Jack through the kitchen doorway. His rough demeanor softened for a fraction of a second when he caught my eye, and I couldn't help but wonder how someone like him ended up so vulnerable. "I'm sorry to bring my mess into your life," he said, his voice quieter. "I didn't mean to invade your space." There was a pause, a moment where our eyes locked, and I felt the depth of the heaviness between us. "Sometimes we need to let others in, even if we're not ready," I replied, my own walls trembling in the light of his gaze. As he spoke of his sister, MIA, each word felt like a thread woven into a tapestry of sorrow. They had been raising each other after the loss of their parents, and his voice cracked with every memory he shared. My heart tightened. There was a tenderness behind his strength that made my emotions surge. "She went out last night and never came back," he continued, leaning forward, pain etched in every line on his face. "It's not like her. I can't believe she would just leave." An overwhelming sense of helplessness crashed over me, thinly veiled adrenaline surging through my veins. I wanted to help him, but the question lingered: how much of my own bleeding heart could handle this? Suddenly, my phone buzzed on the cluttered surface of the coffee table, breaking the spell. I picked it up, glancing at the screen. It was a message from my mom checking in. Something about her caring and unyielding support grounded me, and amid my own uncertainty, I found a flicker of resolve. "Let us try to find her," I said, surprising even myself with the confidence in my voice. "I'll help you." His eyes widened, gratitude and desperation colliding within them. "You do that? I don't even know you." "Maybe that's what makes this easier," I replied with a half-hearted smile, though I could feel the tendrils of fear tightening around my heart. Sometimes strangers can be more supportive than those we know. As the night deepened outside, we mapped out the small town on a whiteboard I had stashed behind the couch, writing down places MIA frequented, the names of people in her life, and possible leads. The shadows stretched around us, our initial hesitation dissolving into an unspoken understanding while we toiled over potential avenues of hope. Small moments of warmth surfaced. Jack would smile occasionally, lips curling at the corners, revealing a joy that felt so far away from our current chaos. I found myself drawn to that smile, lighting up the gloom between us. The hours melted away, and with every name we wrote, part of my own heart began to heal in tandem. Each time he looked my way, the air thickened with unspoken tension, a new heat igniting something long dormant within me. Then, just as our plans began to take shape, he held up his phone, receiving a notification that knocked the breath from my lungs. "No way," he murmured, staring at the screen, disbelief coloring his features. I leaned closer, curiosity clawing at my heart. "What is it?" A connection in the virtual world had just resurfaced for him. MIA's Instagram. She posted something an hour ago from a party downtown. The thrill of revelation shot through me like lightning. That's amazing. She could be safe. But as Jack's expression shifted from hope to something darker, I felt a constriction tighten around my chest. "What if she's okay?" I ventured, trying to keep a firm grasp on the situation. "Maybe she just needed a break." No, this isn't right. She wouldn't just run off for a party." Before I could respond, Jack's phone buzzed again, and I braced myself for whatever news awaited us. But I couldn't prepare for the image that hovered on the screen, a blurry photograph of MIA, her disheveled hair frazzled, a glass raised in a strange celebration surrounded by people I didn't recognize. It was unmistakably her location, a place I knew well, a dive where shadows dance between strangers. "Jack, look," I said, pointing. But his gaze was already searching deeper, the realization dawning her expression in that picture didn't match the carefree energy he'd expect from his sister. In an instant, fear surged back. I felt the gravity of the unknown press heavily upon me. This wasn't just about love blooming in unexpected places, it was about unraveling secrets hidden beneath laughter and light. "Let us go," he said suddenly, determination hot in his voice. But as we moved to throw on our jackets, I could feel the weight of my heart thundering against my ribs. What awaited us out there? Would we find MIA, or step into darkness where love was threatened by the darker shadows of reality? And as we stumbled into that night, every heart-wrenching possibility loomed in the air, the next twist of fate waiting to strike. As Jack and I stepped out into the cold night, the rain had turned to a soft drizzle, casting the street in a shimmering veil. My heart raced not just with anticipation, but with an unshakable anxiety. The world felt unnervingly quiet, the hum of the city dulled by our urgency. Each step we took felt as if we were marching into a storm we couldn't predict. What if she's not alone? Jack's voice faltered as we reached the end of my street, the dive bar flickering in the distance. I could see the enticing glow of neon lights bouncing through puddles on the asphalt, an oasis of chaos amidst our turmoil. What if she's changed? I turned to him, forcing a desperate semblance of calm into my voice. We won't know until we get there. But she's still your sister, she might be scared. She needs you. My words felt like a fragile lifeline amidst his swelling panic, but I wished for more certainty, like wishing for a silver lining in a black cloud. Jack nodded, though the burden in his eyes deepened. The closer we got to the bar, the more I could feel the hesitancy seep through the cracks of our shared resolve. Outside, a group of revelers stumbled into my line of sight, their carefree laughter ringing hollow against the dread building in our chests. Should we call someone? The police? Jack hesitated again, looking back at me with uncertainty. Let us try to find her first, I urged, hoping my own uncertainty wouldn't fracture his already waning bravery. But we need to trust our instincts. As we approached the entrance, the air grew thicker with the sounds of muffled music and shouts. I glanced at Jack, whose face reflected the battle raging within him. Part of him hoped for a reunion steeped in love, the other half was clenched tight in fear of what we might discover once inside. Our senses were assaulted by a cacophony of bodies and noise. The stench of spilled drinks mingled with sweat and exhilaration. I squinted through the haze of flashing lights, scanning the dim interior for any sight of MIA. Each passing moment felt like a weight, pressing on my chest with a rhythmic anxiety. Jack's hand found mine, a gentle grip that anchored me as we pushed deeper into the throng. Do you see her? He called over the din, eyes darting from face to face. Not yet. I shouted back, but a gnawing impatience began to erode my strength. With each second that ticked by, a part of me feared that maybe this reckless search was in vain, that perhaps we stepped into a labyrinth without a map. Suddenly, a flash of familiar hair caught my gaze across the room. Jack! Over there! I pointed, my heart leaping into my throat as we made our way toward a corner booth. As we approached, however, my heart sank. The joy in MIA's smile felt like a cruel mask, and the faces surrounding her were unfamiliar and uninviting. Jack, I murmured, tightening my grip on his hand, look. He followed my gaze, and his expression shifted as he took in the scene. MIA, glass shimmering in hand, surrounded by a crowd of laughing strangers, her eyes veiled with something I couldn't quite decipher. Was it joy or something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? There she is, he breathed, but the way he said it was laced with dread. Fury and sorrow danced across his features in equal measure. A moment too long passed, stretched between us in excruciating stillness, as if we were suspended in disbelief. Mia's laughter burst forth, and I watched the way the light caught her hair, how she seemed almost lighter in that moment, yet the tension in Jack's grip told me he was unraveling. What the hell is she doing here? He whispered through clenched teeth. Maybe she's just out having fun. It's okay for her to have a life, I said, though doubt fluttered in my chest like a trapped bird. But we can't stand here. Are you kidding? He replied, his voice low but edged with an urgency I recognized all too well. Look at her. In an instant, my mind began to race through possibilities, drawing parallels between my own pain and his frantic worry. Here we were, on the cusp of finding light, yet standing before shadows of uncertainty. Every reason I thought I had for our search began to slip away as I wrestled with an unexpected pang of jealousy at MIA's apparent ease, while Jack's turmoil spiraled around us like a tempest. Let us confront her, Jack decided, his determination flaring beneath the surface. She needs to understand how worried we've been. As we approached, each thudding heartbeat echoed in my ears, driving us toward a confrontation that felt like a reckoning. Jack's grip on my hand tightened as we reached the edge of the booth. "Emma!" he shouted, the vulnerability peeling away to reveal a raw urgency that cut through the noise. Her laughter faded, eyes blinking in surprise as she turned. "Emma, what the hell is going on?" Jack demanded, the storm raging in his voice as I sensed the fracture between hope and dread grow deeper. But before she could answer, the door swung open violently, causing the crowd to part like an unwelcome wave. A man stumbled in, disheveled and wild-eyed, the kind of energy that simmered with unpredictability. "Jack!" he shouted, and suddenly the world narrowed into a shocking, brutal focus. "You need to come outside." Mia's eyes darted between her brother and the intruder, confusion and concern intertwining as the atmosphere thickened with tension like a coiled spring, ready to snap. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice catching in my throat, the air heavy with impending calamity. "Something happened, a fight, you need to come now," the man insisted, urgency radiating from him, embedding panic into every syllable. Jack's expression contorted as I felt the jolt of fear surge through my body. "What are you talking about?" But before he could push further, the man's eyes blazed. "Mia's in trouble, Jack! Please! Outside! Now!" And with those words, everything we thought we understood to find hope, to heal cracked open, revealing an abyss that had been quietly lurking beneath the surface all along. Clenching my hand harder against Jack's, I could feel the world shifting beneath us yet again, teetering between love and chaos, leaving behind only the trembling fragments of certainty as the night unfolded ahead. As the man's words echoed through the turmoil of the bar, I felt the walls around me close in, squeezing out any air that might allow for hope. Jack's grip around my hand tightened instinctively, his knuckles turning white as fear coursed through him. The once vibrant atmosphere of laughter and chaos transformed into a dark cocoon swirling with dread, stifling our breaths. "Mia," Jack murmured, looking desperately at her, searching for the sister he knew beneath this apparently carefree facade. "Are you all right?" She blinked, caught in a web of surprise and confusion. "I don't know what," but the man stepped closer, urgency flecking his eyes. "We need to go. It's not safe. You have to trust me." The words wrapped a heavy weight around my heart. Trust. In a place that had suddenly turned hostile, trust felt like a luxury we could not afford. "What do you mean, not safe?" I demanded, stepping forward, driven by an instinct I didn't fully understand. "What's happening?" He hesitated, considering how to deliver the truth without shattering us completely. "There's a group outside looking for her, Jack. They know she was last here." An agonizing chill spread through me, the reality cutting clean and deep. I could feel Jack's rage boiling beneath the surface, but I could also sense a different kind of fear, a desperate need to protect his sister that ignited his features with certainty. "We have to get her out of here," Jack said, his voice now laced with urgency. "Mia, please, let us go." As she looked between the man and her brother, the confusion in her eyes began to be replaced with a dawning sense of understanding. I saw her walls crack, exposing an unsettling vulnerability that she had tried to mask beneath her laughter and bravado. I don't want to leave my friends," she stammered, glancing over her shoulder, but when she turned back to Jack, I knew she could see the gravity in his eyes. "Your safety is more important than any friends right now," he insisted, his voice steady, if not shaking with contained emotions. As the tension unfolded, I felt as if I were standing on the edge of two worlds. The weight of our mission to find Mia wrestled against the reality of what may be unraveling right before us. I could see the familiarity in Jack's face morphing into something primal as he fought to protect the only family he had left. But at that moment, it was more than fear and anger, it was a desperation that clenched my heart with both admiration and anguish. The sound of shouting outside pierced through the crowd, rising like a wave cresting against a shore. People were starting to notice the disturbance by the entrance, and I could feel the growing knot of tension thicken in my throat. "We need to move. Now." The man's voice broke through the chaos like a lifeline. Jack pulled MIA and me closer, our small triangle of trust solidifying as if we were plotting our way to safety. Stick together, he urged, scanning the room as if trying to memorize the faces around us. Stay close to me. Don't let go of my hand. I nodded, but inside, a burst of doubt began to swell. As we pushed through the crowd, the bright lights felt like stars flickering on the brink of blackness. A surge of adrenaline propelled us forward just as an unfamiliar figure loomed in the doorway. Jack! The voice we didn't expect to hear cut through the noise with a harsh clarity. It belonged to Henry, our least favorite acquaintance from high school, who had made it a point to find trouble whenever possible. What are you doing here? Jack snapped, barely pausing to register Henry's expression, a puzzling blend of feigned bravado and deeper concern. I heard what was going down, Henry replied, his expression taut, urgency cut into his words. You need to leave, head out the back. There's a squad coming in from the front. Panic clawed at my throat as Jack's face contorted into disbelief. Why would you even care? I don't. Just move. Henry insisted, stepping aside to usher us toward the back exit. We could see the tension coiling behind him, the crowd becoming more chaotic, faces turning to whisper, to search for the source of the commotion. I felt the pulse of fear stutter in my chest as I glimpsed the shadows shifting closer, a mix of fleeting figures filled with uncontained energy. MIA's distress broke through. I can't leave them. She was shouting now, torn between solidarity and survival, her feet freezing in place. MIA. Jack turned to her, desperation flashing like a dark omen, but I could see the conflict written on her face. Did she feel loyalty to something toxic, or was it simply fear of the unknown that rooted her? MIA, I pleaded softly, desperation swirling beneath my skin. This isn't just a party anymore. You need to trust us, please. And then, just before I felt the very fabric of our night unravel, a crash erupted from the front entrance, sending shards of sound through the air and plunging us deeper into chaos. Go! Jack shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos once more. We have to move, now. In that moment, the world we had known began to twist and warp, the lines we thought were clear blurring into confusion. I pulled MIA closer, fortifying the bond between us, all while Jack led the way to the exit, a determination burning bright against the encroaching night. But the moment we reached the back, a new fear gripped me, a string of doubts that came with the realization that our path wasn't just filled with shadows, but with shifting alliances as well. And as we stepped out into the cold night air, a scattered moment of clarity pierced through the storm in my mind. The figure that had caused the disturbance suddenly materialized in the distance, a flickering shape slipping away, a silhouette I recognized but couldn't understand, leaving our hearts suspended in a whirlwind of emotions, trapped between fear and a terrifying hope as the shadows of past decisions started to dance ominously in the periphery. With the back door slamming shut behind us, the world outside felt eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos we had just escaped. The cold air bit at my skin, grounding me in the reality of our situation. We stood in a narrow alleyway, the darkened buildings looming like watchful giants, their lifeless facades hiding stories of their own. Jack was illuminated only by the dim light of a flickering street lamp, the tension coiling tighter around him as he turned his gaze toward MIA. Her face was pale, and her breath came in soft gasps. What just happened back there? What did I get myself into? The confusion in her voice felt like a plea for answers, a desperate search for understanding in a night turned upside down. MIA, Jack's voice softened, his anger dissipating under a layer of concern. You're safe now. Just trust me, okay? We'll explain everything soon, but right now, we need to get away from here. You don't get it. She cried, her emotions bursting through the surface. I don't want to just run. I don't want to abandon my friends. They need me. As Jack opened his mouth to respond, something caught my eye, a movement from the street beyond the alley. Shadows danced at the edges of the light, figures moving with purpose, their silhouettes unmistakable, and a rush of panic flooded my veins. Jack, look! I whispered, urgency fueling my voice. He whipped his head around, his eyes narrowing as he spotted the figures. We need to go, now. He reached for MIA's hand, pulling her in closer, but her feet remained planted as she scanned the street, searching for those she felt tied to. MIA, please. My heart raced as I stepped forward, gripping her shoulders in an attempt to break through her growing despair. You can't save everyone. Right now, you need to save yourself. Something shifted in her expression, then an awareness that perhaps life required tough choices. But what if they're hurt? She hesitated, torn between loyalty and self-preservation, and for a fragmented moment, I wondered if we were all caught in a cycle of rash decisions. Listen, Jack interjected, his voice steady but strained. If they're your friends, they'll understand why you have to go. We can find a way to help them later, but first, we have to make sure you're okay. As those words left his lips, an unexpected softness crept into the edges of the chaos. MIA's eyes flicked between Jack and me, the internal battle waging in her heart clear. I could see the walls she had built around herself slowly cracking, exposing the depths of her vulnerability. What if she started, barely above a whisper, shaken by the weight of her words? What if this never ends? What if running doesn't fix anything? Jack froze, caught in the gravity of what she had just said. We can't think like that. It will end, and we will find our way through. He placed a hand on her cheek, a gesture filled with brotherly love but also something deeper, an unspoken bond forged in fire. I promise. Just hold on to that. In that fleeting moment, I saw the flicker of hope in MIA's eyes, a glimmer that maybe, just maybe, we could piece this night back together, in spite of its darkness. It felt fragile, as if it could shatter at the slightest disturbance, but it was there, a thread we all needed to grasp. The sounds from the street grew louder, footsteps echoing against the pavement, an urgency bubbled beneath the surface once more. We had to move, and as I glanced over my shoulder at the shadows in the distance, my chest tightened with anticipation. The figures were closing in, their intentions obscured by the veil of night. Come on, I urged, my voice steadying as I took MIA's hand, pulling her with me to jog alongside Jack. We'll figure this out together. We're not alone in this. As we turned to flee down the alleyway, a low voice reached out from behind us, suddenly piercing through the veil of fear. Stop! You can't run from this. We spun to see Henry stepping through the flickering light at the alley's entrance, a grim look etched into his face, the urgency of his earlier warning still hanging in the air. But in his eyes, I now saw something different, depth, a haunted past perhaps, that made him more than just our unwanted acquaintance from days gone by. What do you mean? Jack snapped, instinctively moving in front of us as if he could shield MIA from whatever Henry was about to unveil. Henry hesitated, tension tightening in the air as he chose his words carefully. I tried to warn you. The people looking for MIA, they're not just some random group. They're part of something much bigger. You need to know what's at stake, and I can help you if you let me. What do you know? Jack's voice edged into a growl, protectiveness flaring fiercely. In the flickering light, Henry's expression gave way to something deeper, a desperate confession brewing beneath the surface. I know a lot more than I should. As the chill of the night swept through the alley, a new wave of uncertainty enveloped us, mirroring the imminent danger lurking just beyond our grasp. Before I could process the heaviness of his words, a distant shout filled the air, a haunting echo that sent shivers down my spine. I felt as if the night were leaning closer, the shadows deepening around us, and in that moment, fear clawed at my insides. What have you gotten us into? I whispered, uncertain if I was speaking to MIA, Jack, or even to myself, as the truth began to unravel like the threads of fate pulling us further into the unlikeliest of journeys, where love, fear, and secrets intertwined, and the greatest challenge lay just ahead. The chill of the night wrapped around us like a shroud, and the palpable tension hung heavily in the air, thickening as the reality of our predicament set in. I took a deep breath, searching for words, a sense of direction, anything that could pull us back from the brink of uncertainty as Henry stood before us, a reluctant messenger burdened by secrets. MIA, please, I urged, squeezing her hand tighter, as if it could anchor us to the present. We need to stay focused. We can't let fear blind us to the truth. She looked up at me, her eyes wide and glossy, reflecting a whirlwind of emotions: hope, fear, confusion. Jack stood firm, a sentinel ready to protect, but even he seemed to sense the storm brewing within our small group. "What are you talking about, Henry?" Jack's anger simmered just beneath the surface, but there was also confusion, a flickering doubt about whether trusting Henry could lead us to safety or to greater peril. Henry's gaze shifted between us, measuring the urgency of our situation. "The people after MIA are part of a larger network. They're dangerous beyond anything you've experienced. You think this is just about her, but it goes deeper. She has something they want." My heart raced. Something? What could they possibly want from her? "It's about her parents," he said softly, the weight of his words pressing down on us. "They were involved in something significant, and MIA is the last piece of a puzzle, one they are willing to do anything to complete." MIA's breath caught in her throat as she absorbed his revelation. "My parents?" Her voice quivered, fear crawling up her spine. "What did they do? Why is this happening? I can't go into details, but I promise you your life is in danger because of them. You're not just running to save yourself, you're running to stay alive." Henry's eyes took on a desperate gleam, the urgency in his tone pulling at all the loose strings of hope I was trying to weave together. Jack stepped forward, drawing MIA behind him protectively, his face twisted with a mix of anger and concern. "You expected us to just accept this? To trust you? After everything you've done?" "I know I'm not your ally, but I can help you," Henry replied, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I can get you out of here. There's a safe house not far from here, a place where we can lay low until we figure out the next steps. But we need to hurry before they catch up." "And then what?" MIA's voice trembled, her resolve waning in the face of fear and uncertainty. "What's the plan? To just keep running forever?" The shadows at the alley's entrance deepened, and the haunting echo of distant voices grew louder, drawing closer, igniting my instincts to act. "We have to decide now," I urged, pushing the fear back down into the recesses of my mind. "We can't wait. We need a way out." As if to punctuate our urgency, a bright flashlight beam sliced through the darkness, illuminating the alley with an unsettling brightness. The shadows that had once felt like our sanctuary now loomed menacingly around us. "Let us go!" I shouted, gripping MIA's hand forcefully, pulling her toward Henry as I cast one last glance over my shoulder. The figures were closer now, their voices a chaotic mix of shouts echoing off the walls, a chorus warning of our impending fate. "Follow me," Henry urged, breaking into a fast run, and we followed suit, adrenaline pumping through our veins. Jack stayed close to MIA, a steadfast guardian despite the morning's rising threat, while I was just a step behind, my heart pounding in synchronization with the echoing footsteps of our pursuers. The city blurred around us as we raced through the maze of alleys, the thrill of the chase igniting something primal. In this desperate flight, I could feel the pulsating energy of hope intertwined with fear, a double-edged sword that pushed us forward. "MIA," I called, noting the strain in her breath. "Stay close. Just keep running." With a nod, she pushed herself, racing not only to escape, but to chase down the fragments of truth Henry had revealed. The world outside was a cacophony of distant sirens. Shadows closing in on our heels, but there was a strange clarity setting in amidst the chaos, the realization that we were bound together by this night, and by an inescapable fate. As we rounded a corner, a sharp gasp escaped MIA's lips, and I turned just in time to see her freeze, her eyes fixating on something ahead. Following her gaze, my breath caught in my throat. There, blocking our path, stood a group of figures who looked both familiar and unattainable, their faces lit by the yellow glow of a street lamp. They were close enough now that I could see the tension in their stance, a mixture of resolve and something darker. "MIA!" one of them called, a voice frantic and filled with emotion that pierced through the night, sending a chill down my spine. "MIA, you have to come with us." But I knew then we were not just running from danger, we were sprinting toward an even greater confrontation. The joy of fleeting freedom mixed unsettlingly with trepidation as the weight of our choices bore down heavily upon us. "Stay back!" Jack shouted, stepping protectively in front of MIA, his body tense and ready for conflict as the shadows loomed bigger around us. "Who are you?" A silence wrapped itself around the group, the heartbeat of the world slowing, and in that moment, I could feel a collective breath held tight, unspoken words rife with gravity, the unacknowledged truth of our reality whispering just beneath the surface. Your family needs you, MIA, the voice urged again, desperation clouding sincerity. You have to trust us. There's no time to explain. At that moment, everything shifted. The night transformed into a living entity as the figures moved closer, untangling threads of connection and obligation, igniting a new kind of fear and hope intermingled, and I couldn't decide if this was salvation or damnation. As Jack remained poised to defend, a single realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. This was where our paths forked, where every step we had taken shattered into choices that would lead us deeper into the unknown. Go with them, MIA! I shouted, my heart racing as the fear of losing her clawed at my insides. The night trembled, time stalling as her gaze met mine, a silent question hanging in the air, a decision that could change everything. MIA! Jack implored, confusion coating his words, but I knew the truth lurking beneath. We were teetering on the edge of revelation, and with each passing moment, resistance felt futile. Just as her hand slipped from mine, an unexpected warmth enveloped me from behind, a small, gentle gesture that resonated with humanity amidst the chaos. It was a touch, a brief comfort, a reminder of the love that had sparked in the unlikeliest of places. But then, everything exploded into chaos. A shout erupted from the darkened street behind us, and in a heartbeat, the fragile connection shattered, leaving us dangling in the void of fate, each of us racing toward the decisions that would come to define our lives. The stars above twinkled dispassionately, witnesses to the helpless struggle of our hearts, and as MIA turned to step away from the safety we had desperately grasped, I knew our world was about to irrevocably change. And just like that, the line between hope and despair blurred, leaving a heart-wrenching echo in its wake. The air had turned electric, charged with the unspeakable choices that hovered, unseen yet strongly felt, around us. A shadow rushed past me, the figure's torn expression etched into my memory as I strained to grasp what was unraveling before my eyes. MIA! Jack's voice broke the silence anew, his tone fraying as he grabbed her wrist. But she was looking past him, staring at the figures who claimed to know her. A tumult of emotions played across her face, a reflection of the storm brewing inside her. Hope clashed with the terror of the unknown. Trust faltered under the weight of fear. Who are you? She finally asked, her voice a soft whisper, though the strength behind her words betrayed her careful poise. There was a flicker of recognition among the figures, a brief hint of warmth lacing the desperate gravity of the moment. We're family, MIA, a woman at the forefront said. Her eyes glistened with an intimacy that felt akin to a lost memory yet to be reclaimed. You're not alone. We've been looking for you. Fear rippled through me, an insistent throbbing pulse in my chest. MIA, you can't trust them. I felt the highway of my heart stress under the weight of urgency. They could be dangerous. Jack stiffened beside me, his grip on MIA tightening, yet the emotional chasm now yawning between us all seemed to deepen. Say what you have to say, then we'll decide, he demanded, his protective instincts roaring forth like an unyielding wall. MIA, we don't have time, the woman insisted, glancing over her shoulder, a tremor of urgency rippling through her demeanor. They're coming for you, for all of us, faster than you can imagine. We know the truth about your parents. It's all tangled in the past, the legacy that follows you now. I wanted to scream, to shake her and force her to see the perilous depth of our situation. But MIA's eyes, so vivid and searching, sought solace even in the words of strangers. The loyalty and protective nature of Jack could only do so much against the whirlpool of confusion and fear that encased her heart. MIA, listen to me, I implored, my voice softer now, desperate to reach her beyond the surging tide of uncertainty. This is your life. Your decisions. We can't just jump into something we don't fully understand. But even as I spoke, I felt the grip of my own fear. What if there was a truth there? What if this was a path veering her away from the danger lurking behind us? A cacophony erupted behind me, the shouts of our pursuers snapping the moment taut like a fragile thread. The streetlights overhead flickered unevenly, a physical representation of the instability hanging between us. The shadows at our backs grew denser, drawn by the urgency that now coated the air. MIA. Jack's plea was primal, instinctual. "We can fight this together." "But can we?" Mia's voice broke, tears spilling as she looked back at him, hope and fear tangled within her gaze like revealing whispers creeping over dark waters. "What if the only way to end this is to face the truth? To find out who I really am?" The realization hit like a sharp knock to my heart. She was seeking something more, a chance to reclaim not just her safety but her very identity. My own heart ached at the thought that, in this moment of crisis, she stood on the precipice of discovering the roots of her past, a yearning I couldn't truly understand. As if sensing this shift, the woman stepped closer, a mixture of urgency and compassion etched across her face. "Mia, if you come with us, we promise to keep you safe. Your parents were brave, and they wanted you to know the truth. We want to help you find your way through this." Jack opened his mouth to protest again, but I raised my hand. The weight of the moment seemed to pull us all in different directions, yet I knew Mia was searching beyond mere survival. "Mia, the decision lies with you," I said, though I felt my resolve waning. Her eyes flicked to Jack, to the figures who called to her, and finally, back to me. This fractured moment felt dizzying, every heartbeat an echo of uncertainty. My heart clenched, realizing our paths could diverge at any second, memories blurring with the hope of what lay on the other side. Suddenly, a loud crash resonated behind us, and my breath caught in my throat. The figures were moving now, urgent, resolute. "Mia!" Jack surged forward as the chaos erupted at our backs, the world around us shattered with the weight of new choices splitting us in two. "We have to go." But she stood there, hesitating, her gaze shifting like sand in an hourglass, time racing against her choice. The scent of impending rain mingled with the acrid hint of fear as I reached out, an instinctive allure to hold on, to keep her close. "Mia," I breathed, my voice trembling, torn between the urge to keep her safe and the undeniable force pulling at her. "You don't have to do this alone." And in that moment, the universe shrank down to her next words, the pulsating energy of the city a mere backdrop to the decision that echoed loudly within us. "Mia!" The urgent cries grew louder, the shadows behind us surging forward as darkness swallowed the allies of light. "You need to choose now." The rain began to fall, light droplets at first, but with every tick of the clock, it transformed into a relentless downpour. And as Mia's breath caught, I saw it, the flash of determination igniting a fire within her, lighting the way to a choice I could not fathom. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, another shadow charged into our circle, a figure recognized too late, an unwavering presence that shattered the moment. "Mia, wait!" The voice rang out sharp as glass, the truth icy in its urgency. It was not a call to stop but a desperate plea to turn around. My heart mortified as I watched Mia's expression morph, the consequences cascading toward us like a wall ready to fall. Before I could comprehend the meaning of this new arrival, a familiar face brought forth the final complications to our tangled web of fear, hope, and love, a reminder that sometimes, the unlikeliest of encounters could shift the very course of our fates in ways we had not imagined. And in that moment, as everything surged forward, the rain washed away my desperate grasp for control, leaving only unanswered questions in its wake as we plunged headlong into this uncertain new dawn. The rain intensified, a tempest crashing around us, drowning out the frantic calls that echoed behind. I stood rooted in place, heart hammering against my ribcage, watching Mia wrestle with the storm raging within her. Each droplet brought a new weight, a visceral reminder that life could shift in a heartbeat. "Mia!" The new figure stepped into our circle, their presence like a jolt of icy clarity against the chaos. It was Eric, a name that conjured a past fraught with bittersweet memories, a friend turned into a ghost. The very sight of him conjured a whirlwind of emotions, both familiar and alien. "Mia, you don't understand." Eric's voice strained, fear-tinted urgency coloring every syllable. "You can't trust them." His gaze flickered to the woman at the forefront, the supposed family who had just found her. "What is happening?" Mia whispered, glancing between Eric and the strangers, her voice drenched in confusion. Each beat of rain seemed to synchronize with the erratic pulse of her heart, and I felt the collective tension tangling around us. "Mia, listen to me." Eric took a reluctant step forward, his eyes darting to the shadows behind him. I tried to warn you before, but I thought I had more time. A rumble of thunder punctuated his words, filling the air with a tangible sense of dread. They don't want to help you. They're using you, he added, desperation woven through his voice. Your parents, they weren't who you think they were. Every word fell like a stone, the ripples spreading into the depths of reality. The woman, now visibly agitated, stepped closer, her voice suddenly sharpened. You don't know what you're talking about. But Eric, firm in his belief, pressed on. They were involved in things you can't even begin to understand. You've been dragged into a war that's been going on long before you were born. Mia's eyes widened. It was as if the ground shifted beneath her, the choices before her seeming to dissolve into vapor. I saw the flicker of doubt, an ember igniting through her fear. She was standing at the edge of an abyss, and I could feel the tug of the precipice beneath her soles. Jack stayed close, muscles coiled with tension, his presence a bastion against the chaos. But even he couldn't hide the uncertainty brewing in his typically fierce gaze. Mia, we can sort through this together, he urged, clenching her hand tighter. But what if Eric is right? She whispered, barely audible over the hammering rain. What if everything I thought I knew is just a lie? I wanted to reach out, to pull her back from the precipice of doubt threatening to swallow her whole, but my heart stumbled over the turbulence churning within me. For so long, I had felt like the anchor in her storm, steady and unyielding, but now I felt like driftwood, floating in a vast sea of uncertainty. Listen, Mia. You must know the truth. Eric's voice was a silken thread of desperation, pulling her back towards him. Your parents were trying to protect you, and he hesitated, his expression morphing into one of profound sorrow. I was too late to warn them, too late to protect you. The shadows scattered behind us loomed closer, an ominous reminder that time was slipping through our fingers. I could feel Jack's eyes burning into me, gauging an answer we all needed but no one could give. A growl burst from the depths of the swirling darkness behind us, echoing ominously, cutting through the downpour. The figures who had claimed to know her were gaining ground, urgency gnashing at their heels like creatures of despair. Mia, you have to decide now. Eric called above the rain, desperation spilling from his words. You can't let them take you. Her gaze flickered back to him, then to Jack, the emotions dancing across her face igniting a storm of possibilities. She was torn, caught between a past she'd only just begun to piece together and the fraught safety offered by Jack and my defiance. Mia, please. Jack's grip tightened, his voice choked against the blurring edge of their connection. If you choose this path, it could mean losing everything we've fought for together. Each word resonated with the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. I wanted to wrap my arms around her, to shield her from both the past and an uncertain future. But I felt like a ghost in the corner of her reality, a mere silhouette against the vibrant choice illuminated by the looming shadows of truth. Mia, I can help you uncover everything, Eric insisted, taking a step forward, bridging the dividing gulf with frail hope. But you have to choose. Are you going to let them control your life, or are you going to find your own way? The tension twisted around us, a tightly woven blanket of uncertainty and fear. As thunder rumbled above, Mia's breath hitched, and for a heartbeat, time splintered into infinite directions. Just as a flicker of understanding crossed her expression, a tentative resolve igniting another crash echoed in the distance, a reminder that shadows lurked just beyond the edge of our vision. The woman stepped forward, determination on her face, desperation clawing at her voice. We your family, Mia. We can protect you. Before she could respond, shadowy figures swarmed from the periphery, their sinister forms piercing the veil of rain, converging in the space we once thought safe. Run! Jack shouted, pulling Mia closer, but as he did, she caught my eye, uncertainty swirling within the depths of her gaze. I felt the walls of my own heart crumble, the pain of unspoken words slipping through my mind. You don't have to do this alone, I spoke, the truth weighing heavy with every syllable. Not now, not ever. In that frenetic moment, the rain drenching us both, I saw it, a glimmer of something flickering within Mia, a shared hope tangled with a raw desperation, and I braced for the chaos erupting around us. Just then, another figure emerged from the tempest, their presence shocking enough to fracture the tenuous direction of our tangled fates, a truth revealing itself where none had been expected. And as the storm raged on around us, the choice was made in an instant, leading us down a path fraught with wild uncertainty, bound to unravel with consequences neither of us could anticipate. The cacophony of rain enveloped us, drowning the world outside, but inside, I felt the fragile atmosphere shift. What had begun as a transformative moment for MIA threatened to fracture into chaos. Thunder crashed overhead, roaring like a wounded beast, while the figures hovered on the periphery of our storm-drenched reality. MIA! The woman cried, her plea cutting through the din, reminding us of the urgency pressing against our shoulders like an invisible weight. Don't listen to him. We've searched for you, loved you since the moment we found you. Found me? MIA echoed, disbelief knitted into her brow. Or took me? Jack's grip tightened around her. We need to get out of here, he shouted, the fear roar in his voice. Now! But MIA lingered, entranced by the truth Eric had attempted to unveil. Her eyes bore the traces of pain and confusion. What if they are lying? She murmured, vulnerability tipping her voice into a quaver. She was at a crossroads, balancing on a tightrope stretched precariously over unknown depths. Eric seized the moment, stepping forward, his expression a mix of desperation and determination. MIA, I don't have time to explain everything, but I can help you. Together we can uncover the secrets buried in your past. Your real past. You deserve to know who your parents truly were. A flicker of outrage sparked within me. She deserves to make that choice herself. Who are you to claim your past is more important than her present? The words slipped out before I could rein them in, heat coursing through my veins. MIA glanced between us, her breath hitching as uncertainty brewed in her heart. It was a moment that felt infinitely fragile, the air crackled with tension like the moment before lightning strikes. Stop! Jack interjected, his voice sharp, slicing through the confusion. We don't have time for infighting. The truth won't matter if we don't survive this. He was right, and I hated how smoothly his words fell into place, forcing me to align with the urgency of the moment. But the chaos was already beginning to surge, shadows writhed around us, growing closer, leaching warmth from the vibrant colors of our hope until they were a dull gray. I could see their forms flicker amongst the torrential downpour, eyes glimmering with a predatory hunger. The woman shouted again, her panic becoming palpable, MIA, please. We've loved you all these years, can't you see? You belong with us, not with him. We can keep you safe. MIA's eyes darted to the group of figures, trying to gauge their truth through her fog of emotions. It broke my heart to see the chasm of uncertainty open wide beneath her, threatening to swallow her whole. MIA. I stepped closer, breaking the space between us as if my intention could tether her back to the safety we had forged together. Family isn't just blood. It's found in those who protect you, who stand by you. Look around, Jack is here, I'm here, we want you to choose what's right for you. The moment hung in the air like a fragile leaf, ready to fall. I could see the struggle within her, and it felt as if our very breath relied upon her choice. Would she lean toward the past, to where shadows loomed and uncertainty thrived, or would she cling to the hope I had so desperately tried to offer? As the thunder rolled again, echoing through the turmoil of our hearts, a strange figure emerged from the downpour. Their silhouette was ambiguous at first, but as they came closer, it struck me a face etched with familiarity but like a memory long buried. Kira? I breathed, bewildered by the impossible arrival. It was her, the girl from my childhood, the one who disappeared into the echoes of my dreams, the one who had been my anchor during stormy days. What are you doing here? Her presence was less like a ghost and more like a light filtering through the darkness. I heard the call. I knew you would need me, Kira said, urgency lining her voice. She turned toward MIA, her expression softening. You're in a storm, MIA. But you don't have to fight it alone. MIA's gaze shifted, each flicker of her attention reflecting her. In a turmoil. But who are you? I'm someone who knows that the truth can illuminate the darkest places. You have a choice, and I can help you understand it, Kira replied, her voice steady despite the clashing storm around us. As she stepped into the circle, I was reminded of the bonds that challenge and strengthen our resolve. I felt a quiet realization wrap around my heart. Perhaps love does exist in the unlikeliest of places, a spark in the shadows we navigate, or a simple act of courage when doubt surrounds us. In that moment, the energy shifted. Whether this would be a plunge into despair or a step toward hope hinged in delicate balance, tethered by the weight of the moment. The figures creeping towards us seemed to sense the change as well, their movements quickening as if emboldened by our shifting focus. "Emma!" the woman cried, desperation bleeding into her voice. "You have to decide now, be with your real family." The storm intensified, obscuring everything, and just as a decision began to take root in Mia's heart, something snapped within the darkness behind us. A roar echoed through the chaos, rippling through the air like a promise of impending doom. I braced myself against Jack, the warmth of his presence solid against the enveloping cold. But before anything could unfold, before Mia's choice could be made, the storm lashed at us with furious intensity, and chaos smashed against our fragile connection. And in that instant, the unexpected truth hung in the air like a loaded question, echoing through the tempest. What would become of our tangled lives if the shadows had come to reclaim what they believed was theirs? Mia stood poised on the brink of something monumental, and while I reached out, all I could think was that somehow, fate had conspired to twist our paths together in the most impossible of ways. Rain pelted down with an unrelenting fervor, drowning out the chaos as the storm swirled around us, amplifying the tension that hung thick in the air. I could feel my heart pounding like a drum, dancing to the rhythm of fear and hope, weaving through the threads of our intertwined fates. The darkness did not just threaten to swallow us, it sought to obliterate any remnants of humanity we had fought to preserve through this tumultuous chaos. "Emma!" Jack's voice, fierce and protective, broke through the din, a fierce sanctuary in the chaos surrounding us. "You have to choose." He stood steadfast beside her, an unwavering pillar against the storm crashing around us. But the tremors of uncertainty rippled through her, indecision etching lines of torment across her brow. I glanced at Eric, whose eyes bore the weight of ancient knowledge, a history he wished he could share without shattering her world further. Between him and the figures lurking in the shadows, I felt as if we were thrumming at the heart of a storm, each heartbeat a decision waiting to unfold. "Mia," I implored, stepping forward, my voice steady but laced with urgency. "These choices could become the beacon you follow or the chains that bind you." I could see her wrestling with the gravity of responsibility, the intensity in her eyes shifting like the clouds above, threatening to unleash the storm or illuminate a new path. "Who are we to choose for you?" I continued, feeling the surge of emotion rise within me, the longing to protect overpowering the fear that clawed at my insides. "You have to trust yourself more than anyone else. You get to write your story." As those words fell between us, I sensed a flicker like a candle struggling but thriving against the gusts of wind. Kira stepped closer, her presence gentle like a calming breeze amidst the typhoon. "You don't have to take on the scars of your past to find peace. We can help you navigate through this storm, but the power to choose lies within you." Her voice carried a soothing warmth that cut through the panic, a thread uniting us all in this moment. Mia's gaze flickered back to the shadows that beckoned her, promising familiarity wrapped up in soft lies, and then back to us, grappling with the truth. "I just want to know who I am. Every story I've been told feels like a lie wrapped around lies. It's like I'm trying to piece together a shattered mirror." Tears pooled in her eyes, and in that moment, it was as if I could feel the weight of her heart so heavy with longing for identity amid the maelstrom of uncertainty. A roar erupted from the shadow depths behind us, a reminder that time was slipping through our fingers like grains of sand. "Emma, now!" Jack shouted, his voice breaking through the thunder of chaos. "Make the choice." The woman from the shadows stepped forward, desperation etched into her features. "Emma, we love you. We can keep you safe." She extended her hand, a final offering to a tether that seemed increasingly frayed, but the flicker of resolve held firm within Mia as the truth began to crystallize before her. "What if I don't want safety at the price of my own identity?" Her voice rang out, stronger now. "What if I choose to discover who I really am, without the need for false connections?" "Choose your family," the woman urged, rising desperation tinged with regret, but the truth revealed itself steadily in the rain-slicked night. Jack stepped forward, chin lifted defiantly. Family is for those who fight alongside you. It's not just about blood, it's about those who choose you and your truth. The pulse of the storm seemed to quiet for an instant. Mia inhaled deeply, eyes flitting between the storm that raged behind her and the fierce love surrounding her. I want the truth, she whispered, the quiet strength in her voice magnified by the intensity of her gaze. And I want to face it with the people who care about me. A shiver of electricity rushed through me, igniting a fire of hope built from the wreckage of confusion. As if the air around us shifted, I could feel a connection spiral upward, a web of love spun from. Battles fought, scars worn not as burdens but as victories. I sprang forward, taking her hands in mine. Then let us uncover it together. Whatever comes our way, we do this as one together. Jack's protective gaze softened, settling on Mia, a silent vow of solidarity hanging between them. You have us, Mia. We'll stand with you no matter what the shadows bring. But just as our moment solidified, the shadows surged forward, the chaos within them unleashing the tumult of rage that had been brewing just out of reach. No! The woman shouted, her voice shaking as figures began to break through the curtain of rain, rushing toward us with terrifying speed. Kira stepped back into the fray, determination ignited within her as she pulled us close. We're stronger together. Stick to each other. Trust in your choice. We formed a protective circle around Mia, hands clasped tightly as the figures advanced, their forms melding into a possessive rush. The storm howled, and as thunder shook the ground beneath us, I felt the warmth of shared resolve coursing through our intertwined fingers. As we stood together, encircled in our bond of choice, the shadows collided against our united front. And as the world lurched under the weight of this monumental moment, the feeling surged from despair to fierce determination. This was our truth, our fight, our journey. With the sound of a deafening crash from behind, I squeezed Mia's hand tighter, feeling her heart race in sync with mine. We face it together! I shouted, and the faintest glimmer of light burst through the storm. In that instant, it was clear to me the greatest power was not our fear of the shadows closing in on us. The weight of our stories, the losses, and the desires for truth did not bind us. Instead, they forged the unbreakable bond we had discovered in the unlikeliest of places, illuminating our path forward. Now! Mia's voice rang out above the chaos, the embodiment of newfound strength as I felt her pulse pounding through my grasp. Together, we surged forward, arms linked, hearts united, no longer just fighting against the darkness around us, but charging headfirst towards the light of self-discovery, love, and the search for truth. And as we faced the storm encroaching, one final thought took root in my heart. Amidst the shadows, we had found each other, and that connection would be the guiding light to lead us home. In that unfolding storm of chaos, love caught the spark of our fears and ignited the path ahead, illuminating a journey built from the threads of honesty, bravery, and unwavering trust. We had chosen our story together, and as we stepped through the threshold of darkness, I felt the wind shift toward hope, because sometimes love finds a way to shine through the fiercest of storms. And in the end, as we emerged from the shadows and clattered into the rain-soaked street together, I realized that the most beautiful notion was not simply about surviving the storm, it was about learning to dance in the rain.